Hello and welcome to Around Town. I'm your host, Dick Patten. It's a pleasure to have you back as we're counting down the days of August and Labor Day. School vacations are almost over with and September's on the horizon, and here we go. So today my special guest is Police Chief
Brad Osgood.
I know. I'm sitting here thinking, what the heck is it? Brain cramp, I guess. I don't know. I guess so much on my mind, I guess. I'm sorry about that, Chief. And but with you now, you guys will be shifting into the fall. Well, you don't change too much, or not till winter, though. Really, November, December. I mean,
It stays pretty busy all the way through, at least through Halloween. And then get into early November. It starts to get, cooler out at night, and
supposed to be.
But yeah, it's been a really, really busy summer.
You notice how it's getting darker, though, in a way, every night now. You can see it settling. It's not as light as it was at 9 o'clock. Now it's coming down to 7:30, maybe.
Yeah, it's the same thing in the morning. It just stays darker a little bit later in the morning.
Well, I haven't noticed that. I've noticed it lighter, I thought.
Yeah.
But you said, oh yeah, getting ready for, you can tell, we're heading toward autumn. But, but it doesn't seem possible that school's going to start. Now, you have the resource officer just at Concord High. And Runlet too?
We have a school resource officer at Concord High School and one at Merrimack Valley High School.
But Brady you don't, and of course Runlet you don't. But have you had any thoughts about changes of procedures, more training about all this guns and violence and kids and bullying and when you think they all stand there and cheer like, oh man, we've got the bullying all done and all cooled off, and all of a sudden you start hearing more of it. Maybe not so much around here, though I'm sure it's going on here too, but and then all of a sudden up come the guns again. Kids got guns, and that kid in Manchester the other day, what was it, a couple weeks ago, he was like 7 years old or 8 years old, and shot himself accidentally. The father was outdoors or something, and it's like, how did he get to it in the first place? You have to wonder.
Right. So you bring up training. I think that the biggest pressing need, I think, for training locally and really across the state for police officers is really this what's called crisis intervention, crisis intervention training, and that is primarily concerned with mental illness. And we encounter that almost on a daily basis. But the other thing that we're really finding now too is there's what's called the substance use disorders. Okay, and we have a lot of people that are, when you talk about the opioid epidemic, that are under the influence of heroin or fentanyl, but now they're under the influence of methamphetamine. And that is a whole different set of behaviors that we're dealing with. Sometimes their behaviors can be confused with mental illness, and so it's difficult for frontline officers to distinguish: am I dealing with somebody who's mentally ill, or am I dealing with somebody that's under the influence of drugs?
Yeah.
Some of them, sometimes they're easy to decipher, but there are two different treatment patterns that go beyond that, and so that's where we see the biggest need in training right now, is this crisis intervention.
It's got to be with school starting up, it's just got to be a whole new ballgame. Of course, St. Paul's is still in the news, with that incident over there. You get the tech school starting up over here, with supposedly for 2 years of college, but still, they're at that age, but...
So we talk about St. Paul's. Now, there's no school resource officer at St. Paul's, but we do have a juvenile officer, a detective that is a kind of a liaison with the school. So if there are any issues at the school that police should know about, come right through our juvenile unit. And the Concord Police and St. Paul's have a really good working relationship. We have for a number of years. So
Well, you never heard of it. I mean, that was a private school. I mean, we all thought it was Catholic, but it's Anglican, and which is almost Catholic, but you never heard anything about it over there. It was just a very private school, and they let you know it too. Almost like a Notre Dame versus Indiana or something, or whatever. They were the top dog in Indiana, you know. But you know, that's the way it was, you know. But all of a sudden, it's not. It's everywhere. But
yeah, you know, and we talked. I think we've talked before. I think that as far as the school resource officers are concerned, I really think that the two middle schools, you know, Runlet and Merrimack Valley Middle School, could be well served to have a school resource officer there. You know, it all comes down to you know, personnel and funding for that. But I think that, you know, as we're in 2018, I think that the time has arrived that those schools need that type of resource. So I'm hopeful that, you know, the school districts and the community will support that going forward, and hopefully we can have a school resource officer in both schools by the start of school next year. So the start of the 2019-2020 school year.
yeah, they're starting what, full-time kindergarten this year or next year?
I don't know.
I think it's next year.
Yeah.
I think maybe, I don't know. I know they're trying to push it through more so this year, but I don't know if it quite made it in Concord. But I don't know. And of course, all the politicians will start, besides what's going on right now, but the ones next year, the big heavyweights will start coming in more and more for the 2020 elections. And I'll be glad this year's done. But you know, should be quite a time. But yeah, and you said Halloween's on the horizon. They've already got it coming out in the stores already, which really surprised me.
Right.
Last week I was in CVS, and they had all the candy out, and they had the some decorations. More of it's coming out, but they started already. Walmart had their stuff out, coming out. So you know what's on. I mean, and then of course, given the mall the way they got now, with that charter school going in and up there, and that other fitness place taking over Circuit City, I don't know if we're going to have a Halloween store to buy stuff this year. Remember, the last several years, the Halloween stores rented Circuit City.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any action at Toys R Us, so I don't know where they're going to, if they're going to even come back into Concord.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's nothing downtown. And so, anyhow, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I don't know. The bullying, I mean, and I should say, you know, I think what gave me the brain cramp in the opening was I was thinking, we were talking just prior to coming on air about the late Gene Connolly, the principal at Concord High School, was a former principal who died a couple of days ago. But, you know, I mean, when I was at Concord High, we had Preston Berry, J. Preston Berry, and I don't know how long he was there, but it seemed like he'd been there a long time. But, you know, I'm sure that, and then of course over here at Concord Dame School was Dorothy Guyman. She was there for quite a few years, but I don't ever remember this kind of tributes that are coming in here for him. But
yeah, he was Gene Connolly was a very, very popular school principal for a number of years at Concord High School. I think he had a lot of support from not only the student body, but the teachers and probably the school board as well. And he was a very popular school principal.
I had him on the show here way back years ago when we were taping at the high school. He came on once, and the Grange gave him a Citizen of the Year award, and then he got, at the state Grange level that same year, he got Educator of the Year, but he couldn't come to either one of them. so I took the plaques up to the school and left them, but I never heard back, thank you, or anything. But reading the obituary, I mean, he had his son and daughter both as teachers. His wife's a teacher over at Hopkinton. His daughter's a teacher at Broken Ground. His son's a teacher at Winnicott. So I guess education runs in that family.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's sad because when you hear that stuff. But anyhow, but no, in downtown I noticed, there seems to be a lot of traffic traffic downtown, but maybe during the fall months the walkers will subside a little bit. But for a while this summer it was busy down there at night times, people walking around. But the stores really aren't any. I mean, there's still not a lot of businesses down there. I mean, a lot of restaurants, but
they see that there's a new theater. They're renovating the theater.
The old Concord Theater.
Yeah,
that's been closed for years.
Yeah, so I don't remember. I think I've been in Concord since 1989. I don't remember that ever being active since that time.
I remember it only because I was born here, and we never went there for a movie, but we always went to the Capitol Theater or the Concord Drive-In when that was going, or Cinema 93. But the Concord Theater was open, I guess, up until the mid to late 80s or early mid 80s or something like that. Paul Brogan, who comes on there quite often, he used to work there, and his mother had something to do with that place too, and he always remember. And he's writing a book now about the Concord Theater and its renovation. Of course, the old diner next. Didn't realize that diner next door to that was a diner. I knew it had the shape of one, but I never knew it was a regular eating place. They mentioned that the other day.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
I didn't know it, because I remember the shoe shop in there. There was Boston Shoe Repair was in there for quite a while, and then that closed down. But I didn't remember that being I mean, Concord had several diners around the city.
Yeah, I remember the one up on Manchester Street in Airport.
That was Louis' Diner.
Yeah, that was always always
Oh
packed.
my gosh, yes. That was the Timbus family that owned that. Well, I don't know if you remember Larry Contois, who he died a year ago, I think it was. He worked at Hannaford, he was 2 years younger than me. His mother and Louis Timbus were brother and sister, so she worked there along with her husband. It was a family restaurant anyway. Then on School Street, where the parking garage is now, that comes out there, Buster Brown Diner was there. And I don't know where they moved that to. It got moved somewhere. It was a big silver liner type diner, big one, and it was in there. There was another one too. Where was the other one? There was another one. I can't remember. And it was maybe South Concord, down that area, but I thought there was another one too in Concord.
Used to be Howard Johnson's down.
Oh yes, Howard Johnson was down there.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
So tell me a bit, because I don't remember the drive-in being active either when I got.
You remember the Concord Drive?
Well, I think it was closed in 1989. I don't remember ever having.
Well, if you come down Water Street, cross the river bridge.
Yeah.
As you come on to Manchester Street.
It's right there on the right.
Yeah, you would turn off to your right and go out behind there. And the big screen was on the riverbank, basically, and then the drive-in had their microphones or whatever. There was a food restaurant in there, or a cafeteria type thing, where you could go in during halftime or something and get hot dogs, hamburgers, cheese, whatever, popcorn. There was games outside for the kids to swings and all that stuff for them to play on. And it was quite, it was quite the thing. And they were open from April till October, I believe. And my folks took us kids there for all the Disney stuff that played, because you had the Concord Drive-In, then you up in Bosquen, you had the Sky High, up there on Route 3 going to Franklin, right there, almost across from the Veteran Cemetery.
Yep.
Then in Hooksett, South Hooksett, you had the Sky Ray, which was down behind where Walmart used to be, that big plaza down behind Tucker's. There's a big shopping center.
Yeah.
That's where Sky Ray was. And we'd always laugh because when we went to Candia to see my aunt and uncle, you could see them. You didn't have to pay to get down there. You saw it from the road. You could see the movie. But yeah, your drive-in theaters are basically, I don't know, there was one in North Woodsville, but I think they've closed that now. I think, and then Meredith, Weeders had one. But I think that's gone. I don't know if they reopened it or
Yeah,
not.
I don't know of any active
I don't know either.
drive-ins.
Milford, I think, had one, but I don't know if they, if it's a thing of the past. But
Yeah, they've been gone for almost 30 years.
I keep hearing rumors that someone has bought that land out in there where the drive-in was, and they're supposed to be. We're going to develop that into a shopping center out in there, but I have never heard any more about it. Somebody from Manchester owns that land. I've often wondered what is out in there, what's left out there. Is there a food restaurant left out there? The screen, I guess, is gone.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's left out there.
Yeah, I think it's like barricaded. You can't really drive out into there.
Well, I'm sure the brush and everything else too.
Yeah.
There's gotta be snakes and everything else out in there, I would think. But
Yeah, but that's a prime piece of property.
oh yeah,
Yeah, right on the river.
yeah. Because Goodyear Tire was right there. As it turned out, the tire place is right there. There was like a half a shell. They had a tire place there, and then of course I call it the dump road, but the old Turnpike Road was more over toward the river,
Right.
because you had Macris's, Keniston's fried clams restaurant in there, and then of course Carlson Motors,
Right.
and then they bought Keniston's, and that's when the family bought Puritan on Main Street. Remember the Puritan on North Main Street, talk of the town?
I think it was gone before I got
Yeah,
here.
well, that's where, there was the youth center, junior dab, varsity shop in the youth center. There were clothing places there. Then you had the Puritan restaurant, which was like an off branch of the one down in Hooksett, or Manchester.
Mhm.
Then you had a banquet on the other side, which they also talked with. And then they renamed it Talk of the Town when they sold it to the Memphis family. And then they closed it all together, and that was that. But
I remember when I got here, they had the Sears down.
oh yes, Sears was on the once again, Freight Street was in there, and that completely is gone now. You never knew there was a street there,
Yeah.
because when they built that parking garage and Red River Theater and all that, that took out Freight Street, because there was Western Auto on the one corner, Sears was on the other. And we always remember that well, because for a while Santa Claus had his big chair in that window on the corner of South Main and Freight. And he'd be in the window there visiting kids and all that jazz with his chair and all that. And then all of a sudden on Christmas Eve day, if we were downtown, you'd see a big sign that says, "Gone back to the North Pole, get your stockings hung."
Yeah. In my 30 years here, and certainly you've been in Concord
66.
66 years, Main Street from Court Street all the way down towards the Dunkin' Donuts on South Main Street, it's really had a pretty good transformation. I mean, it's, you got the new courthouse going in, plus all the development on South Main Street, and so
South Main really hasn't changed a lot. Not from Capitol Center for the Arts on that side has not changed much.
Right. Yeah.
They have remodeled the Capitol Theater, of course, that's what it was called. The other side used to be Harry's Steakhouse, where the Chinese restaurant is. I can't remember the name of it.
It's Beijing, Tokyo.
Beijing, Tokyo. Yes, that's where Harry's Steakhouse was in there.
Yep, I remember that.
And then, of course, further down, well, down back of there, behind where the draft is there, or whatever that
Yeah.
Andy Sanborn's place.
Yep.
There was a grain store down in back. They Worthmore Mills or whatever it was, a grain store. And you drove down the hill there to go get your grain or whatever you wanted for your animals or whatever. And that went out. And then there was Store Street never went up that way. For years they didn't build up there. And there was a gas station, Jenny O. There's a gas station, now it's travel place or something. Waters Funeral Home was always there. Of course, the Pierce mansion or Pierce house burnt in the 60s or 50s, somewhere there. They still got the grass there and some of the foundation. But that area, and then of course further down by Dunkin' Donuts, where Strings and Things is, or something is, that used to, or Daryl's or whatever it is, that used to be a Los's Market, and that was a family store, and very popular. Their meat was unbeatable.
Yeah. Didn't they move up to Manchester Street at one point?
I don't remember that. They might have, but I don't know. They could have.
Yeah. I
And
want to say they were up by Banks.
Oh.
The market up there.
Oh, maybe. I know you get the pizza place up there, Brookside there, but I don't know. Well, of course, Los's own all of that up in there, those apartments and everything.
Yeah.
But, I can remember that down there. Of course, they tore that down and built Howdy Beef Burger. Remember Howdy Beef Burger?
You don't?
Remember the cartoon Howdy Doody?
Yep.
Yeah, Howdy, Howdy Beef Burger. And then I think Dunkin' Donuts was beside it, I think. I don't remember much about it, but I remember the Howdy Beef Burger, then they went out.
What about Janet's Donuts? Remember Janet's Donuts?
God. Whenever we went down to my aunt and uncle's in Rhode Island, we always had to stop there and get a couple dozen of donuts. My aunt and uncle just loved Janet's Donuts, and my mother used to work with Janet, the business that owned that. And in fact, they were the ones who catered our wedding, because the one that we had backed out Thursday night before our wedding on Saturday. But he arranged it with Bissonette to do it, and he did a good job. But 350 people. But oh yeah, her jelly donuts were to die for. They were jelly donuts. And you could get the honey dip ones, and chocolate, whatever. And of course they sold baked beans and brown bread. Yeah.
Yeah, not to stereotype the police, but I actually like Janet's Donuts too.
I'm sure you did. Well, they were good because they were homemade donuts.
Yeah.
You could see. I remember Frank. Oh gosh, he was my neighbor on Pembroke Road. He's passed away now. Frank Goodsell. I think it was Goodsell. He would be one of the chefs or cooks there, and he'd be standing there and they'd eat fat there and frying, twisting the donuts, turning them over there, and of course then out they'd come and put more in, and she opened at 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning,
right?
And oh my gosh, but then she passed. They kept it going for quite a few years after that, and then they just gave up.
Yeah.
And nothing against the donuts you get at Hannaford or any of those other ones, or Dunkin's, but it's just not the same.
No. That's the best donuts in the world right there.
Yeah, they were. They were very good. Coffee Cup comes close to it. You can buy them in a package, but still it's not like the old days of Janet's. But so anyhow, you all ready for the election? You having anybody at your polls this fall to stand by for the voting counting in November?
We don't. Our patrol officers will visit the polling locations. you know, if there's a problem, we'll stay, but we just kind of poke in and out randomly throughout the day.
Yeah.
You know, we've been doing that for years.
Don't seem possible that, oh my gosh, we're down to 1 minute. It doesn't seem possible that we're into that mode. I'm leaving for Michigan the next day, so I won't be there for veto day, but going off my annual game, I didn't know if I'd be going, but I'm still gonna go. But anyhow, but other than that, and everything's coming, and the Grange is starting up again, and this next Monday for election of officers, and everything's going to start up again. You know, it's funny how Labor Day, the Hopkins Fair and all that gets them going. And,
yeah.
You know, foliage eventually. You know, it's just crazy how time, July and August drag. They always have, as far as I'm concerned. Even when my birthday was in July, it drags. July, August, March, and January, the 4 months that I can't stand. Even April sometimes, especially if Easter is early, like it has been. You know, when Easter's in April, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming to a close, and once again, Chief, it's been a pleasure having you here, and I'm hopeful that we'll get you on again before he leaves. But we're going to miss him terribly, but maybe the first Thursday or so of September, we can get you in here for one final time till we get somebody else. But
sounds good.
yeah, well, thanks again. So, we've been visiting with the police chief, Brad Osgood. So, anybody's got questions or concerns about safety on the streets, give him a call over there at the Concord Police Department. So, with that in mind, thanks to Ian Marx, my director. We'll look forward to seeing you all soon. Enjoy the good weather, and school bells are ringing, so I'm your host, Dick Patten. Have a good one.